All right, today we're diving into an idea that sits right on the edge of science, mythology, and frankly, our own identity, the hybrid hypothesis. It's a concept that really makes you question who, or maybe what, we really are. So let's get into it.
And no, that's not just a line ripped from some sci-fi movie. It's the core question that has fueled decades of research, testimony, and of course, a ton of controversy. I mean, what if the next big step in human evolution isn't one we're going to take by ourselves?
So this whole idea of human ET hybrids, it really explodes into the modern consciousness right around the middle of the 20th century. It stops being this vague, ancient folklore and starts becoming a really detailed, surprisingly consistent story.
And what's so fascinating is you can actually watch this narrative build, step by step. It all kicks off in 1961 with the Betty and Barney Hill case. That was the first time reports of these reproductive exams really hit the mainstream. By the 80s, you have researchers like Bud Hopkins connecting the dots, arguing this is a systematic program. Then, boom, 1987, Whitley Strieber's book, Communion, becomes a bestseller, and suddenly it's a massive cultural phenomenon. And by the 90s, you've even got a Harvard psychiatrist, John Mack, putting his entire reputation on the line to study these experiences as a legitimate form of contact. You know, the thing that's really striking here is just how consistent these claims are across decades and across thousands of different people. We're not talking about random one-off encounters. The story is about a very specific, purposeful program. It's always about reproduction, it leads to these hybrid children, and, this is key, it almost always involves telepathic communication. That's a theme you're going to see pop up again and again.
Okay, but before we go any further down this rabbit hole, let's just stop for a second and ask a really basic question. Is the whole idea of a pure human genome even correct to begin with? The answer from actual biology, well, it might just surprise you.
Well, it turns out our own evolutionary story is jam-packed with genetic mixing. In a very, very real and scientific way, we are already a hybrid species. Get this. Just think about this number for a second. About 8% of your DNA isn't originally human at all. It came from ancient viruses that literally stitched their code into our ancestors' genomes millions of years ago. And our bodies have since put that foreign code to work doing critical stuff like building our immune systems and even helping with pregnancy. Yeah, you heard that right. We are quite literally part virus.
Okay, so here's the key scientific term you need to know. Archaic introgression. It's just the fancy name for what our ancient ancestors did when they ran into other human-like species. They didn't just fight them, they interbred with them. And we have undeniable proof of that baked right into our genes today.
So let's put this side by side, shall we? On one hand, you have proven scientific fact. We know we have Neanderthal and Denisovan DNA. We know we got some really useful adaptive traits from it, like the EPS1 gene that helps people in Tibet thrive at high altitudes. And on the other hand, you have the speculative claims. The mechanism, passing on genes, is something we know happens. The only real question is about the source.
Okay, so now let's peel back another layer, because this idea, it's not new, not by a long shot. It's actually an ancient archetype, something that's woven into our oldest, most foundational stories.
I mean, just look at this timeline. You go way, way back, 4,000 years BCE, and you've got Sumerian myths talking about sky gods basically creating mankind. Then, a few thousand years later, the Book of Enoch tells stories of heavenly watchers coming down and having kids with human women. Now jump way forward to 1973, and who do we have? Francis Crick. Yeah, the Nobel Prize-winning guy who co-discovered the structure of DNA. He's proposing directed panspermia, a serious theory that life on Earth might have been intentionally seeded by an advanced alien civilization, an ancient myth echoed by one of the greatest scientists of the 20th century. Wild.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This is all just fringe, right? Weird stories and ancient myths? Well, not exactly. Turns out some very serious institutions have been quietly thinking about what all this could mean for decades. They've been building a kind of blueprint for what to do if the unthinkable ever gets confirmed.
This official foresight goes back a long way. Back in 1960, the famous Brookings Report warned NASA that it needed to prepare society for the potential shock of discovering extraterrestrial life. We also later found out the CIA ran the Stargate program for years, researching telepathy, remember that key element of the modern story. And today, the Pentagon's RL office is officially tasked with looking at UAPs, including any claims of biological evidence. And get this, recent updates in bioethics for things like human-animal hybrids have, maybe by accident, created the perfect legal and ethical rulebook to handle a non-terrestrial one. The pieces are being moved into place, very quietly.
And it's not just the official side of things. The anecdotal data shows these incredible patterns. A big survey in 2022 of over 3,000 people who identify as experiencers found that 68% reported telepathic communication. Almost half of them described seeing hybrid children. Now look, is this hard scientific proof? No, of course not. But it does show that these aren't just a bunch of random isolated stories. It's a collective phenomenon with very consistent repeating themes.
So, where does all of this leave us? What happens if this whole thing moves from the realm of speculation into hard fact? Well, it would force us to confront the very definition of what it means to be human.
And here's the thing. Whether any of the ET stuff is real or not, we are about to create our own version of this. Sometime in the next decade or so, we're going to see brain-computer interfaces merge with gene-editing tools like CRISPR. We're on the verge of being able to literally rewrite our own biology in our own minds. We are about to become technological hybrids ourselves. The line is about to get real blurry real fast.
So with all that said, we gotta remember, this doesn't have to be a mystery forever. There's a clear scientific way to figure this out. It would take an absolutely perfect chain of custody sample from someone making the claim. You'd need multiple independent labs to sequence their entire genome, and what you'd be looking for are genetic markers that simply don't exist anywhere on the tree of life here on Earth. Then you'd have to link that unique DNA to the abilities being claimed, all under very strict ethical rules. The bar is incredibly high, as it should be, but it's not an impossible bar.
And that leaves us right here, with the biggest question of all. If we ever got that proof, what would it actually mean for us? Would finding out that we're not only not alone, but that we're actually related, launch some amazing new era of cosmic kinship? Or would it just trigger a massive existential crisis, shattering everything we thought we knew about ourselves and our place in the universe? Something to chew on.